Hello and welcome again to Sweetcast. This is Clint as always, and if you're new to the channel, please take a moment to subscribe because that really helps me out. We need to talk about the culture war. It seems as though the culture war has been moving into every possible facet of American life that you can get into. I wanted to specifically focus on traditionally male-dominated hobbies because it seems like those are the areas where you're getting the most contention or the most sustained, arguments, and really is a culture war being fought online. So I came across this article on how everything became a culture war, and it's saying what we already all know, and that is that politics is dirty. Essentially, you can have two people in a room that have opposing political views, and they can talk about economics and specific economic policies, and that's extremely boring. But for some reason, when you bring up these symbols of, American life, I guess, so to speak, suddenly it becomes a whole lot more interesting. And I can tell you for a fact, having a YouTube channel, if I make a video on one of these culturally sensitive topics, you get all sorts of much more traction, many more views, people get a lot more involved. Whereas, I write comic books. If I were to make a video on how to write comic books, it would get far fewer views. So I'm going to just chalk that up to human nature. I don't think that surprises anybody. Now, in today's day and age, as the internet is becoming really just the public square, political candidates like Hillary Clinton back in the 2016 election, they understood how to use the internet for their benefit, and not just for their benefit. And I've talked about this a lot, but actually paying trolls, and I would consider them an online protester. Essentially, they're fulfilling a similar task, but I think even more effectively. So I strongly believe that we're going to see a lot more paid internet. I'm going to call them trolls, but they can just call them, they're paid to confront people online. It has the same effect. Okay, the second paragraph here. Hillary Clinton's well-heeled backers have opened a new frontier in digital campaigning, one that seems to have been inspired by some of the internet's worst instincts. Correct the Record, which is an organization, a super PAC, coordinating with Clinton's campaign, is spending some $1 million to find and confront social media users who post unflattering messages about the Democratic frontrunner. Okay, so this has been a very effective campaign. Why? And this was utilized a lot in the primaries against Bernie Sanders supporters. This is well documented. In fact, this is in the Los Angeles Times. This is before any conservatives were in the picture. These are progressives, Democrats. The fight for the Democratic nomination was fought with a super PAC that was paying people to confront others online, which in so many words is a troll. And in fact, that's what it says here. In effect, the effort aimed to spend a large sum of money to increase the amount of trolling that already existed online. So this is leading to some interesting problems in today's day and age now. It's 2019, and trolls are still everywhere, but I do see for sure, if we're going back to male-dominated hobbies, traditionally male-dominated hobbies, I strongly believe that the same tactic is being used now, and not necessarily with this specific super PAC, because it seems to be gone now. You can't find it online anymore, which is Correct the Record. You can find out about it, but Correct the Record itself doesn't seem to be anywhere. One of the unintended consequences here is that in a culture war, you've got two sides that are fighting, and so where paid trolls are going out of their way to humiliate people and try to, disparage people, you get certain figures, we'll say it like a Jordan Peterson, or like Donald Trump himself, several other figures that stand up to these trolls, and the trolls make the perfect opposition. They make somebody to hate, and so this culture war is intensifying. You can see it, and it'll kind of shift from different platform to different platform. But if this was just, fed through the course of normal human interaction, of course there'd still be culture war. There'd still be things. But now the fact that everything is a culture war, there are, political forces that recognize it as an effective tool. So someone like Jordan Peterson, I'm going to let him use his own words, but I think these are some of the unintended consequences from those paid trolling campaigns.
Yes. I mean, the thing that I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to because it's just so goddamn funny. I can't help but say it. I figured out how to monetize social justice warriors.
That is what it is.
I know, it's so funny. I just can't believe it.
The other way.
It just, every time I think that, well, it's just one of the surreal circumstances that characterize my life. It's like I'm driving the social justice activists in Canada mad because if they let me speak, then I get to speak, and then more people support me on Patreon. It's like, that's annoying. It's like, goddamn capitalists make more money off this ideological warfare. It's like, okay, fine, let's go protest them. So they go protest me, and then that goes up on YouTube, and then my Patreon account goes way up. So it's like, they don't know what to do. And so one of the things they...
Okay, now this interview is a little bit older from Joe Rogan, and things have changed a little bit with Patreon, as you know, and I really think that this is prophetic. Everyone knows on each side that the more that this culture war intensifies, there are figures, not just like Jordan Peterson, and I'll go through some more, but they're financially benefiting. They're getting popular with regular unpaid people, and it's really hard to fight that. And so no wonder why companies like Patreon, PayPal, other financial organizations are being attacked right now to try and deplatform people like this. Now, I was pretty into Magic the Gathering, I've on and off for the past few years. I've certainly spent way too much money on it. I've been taking a little bit of time off lately to focus on my comic book that I'm writing. But if you follow Magic, you might be familiar with Jeremy Hambley. Now, it doesn't matter if you think he's a jerk or if you think he's an awesome guy. He's still an example of the culture war being fought on the front of, in this case, gaming, tabletop gaming with card games. And he was banned from playing any sanctioned events by Wizards of the Coast, which is the company that makes Magic the Gathering, and he wasn't silent about it. He already had a YouTube channel. He just talked about Magic, and because he was engaging with that culture war, I have to say he benefited from the situation. He has a ton more subscribers. Not only because of that, but he's also moved outside into the larger realm. And so this is his other channel, the Quartering, and he's getting close to 400,000 subscribers. That's a big deal. He was not this big a few years ago when he just made, videos on Magic the Gathering, and he only had positive things to say. In the conflict, people pick sides, and it seems as though, monetarily speaking, you're getting one side that's really benefiting. So it's really having the opposite effect. Geeks and Gamers is just one other example of a YouTube channel that exploded because of the culture war. And just like it says, Geeks and Gaming, I think he also benefited a lot from Star Wars and the culture war that's being fought on that front as well. And that's because people like there to be an opposition. This is having the opposite effect. I'll pull up one more, which is Sargon of Akkad. He's got 894,000 subscribers. Again, whether you like Sargon of Akkad or you don't like Sargon of Akkad, it's irrelevant. He certainly benefited. His channel grew a lot based off of the whole Gamergate culture war. He made so many videos on Anita Sarkeesian, and I have to credit that for at least a lot of his growth and why he exploded so much. So if you look up Correct the Record on opensecrets.org, it gets me thinking that there are certainly other super PACs or organizations that are utilizing, the finances in order to fight these small political wars that have nothing to do with an election. However, maybe they do in the long term. Maybe winning these little battles in culture help them secure a place in an election that would come up. And if we're talking about Comicsgate, which is why my channel exists, if you're unfamiliar with it, there's been a lot of online trolling that is super suspicious. People are so dedicated to taking down Comicsgate. And in fact, Disney, which owns Marvel, they have a super PAC that's there for political reasons, and you can actually, this is all on opensecret.org. It's actively paying out money. Now, this is going to political candidates, and I've no doubt that there are other super PACs, but I just want to make the point that these little corporations and the entertainment industry, they're not just focused on entertainment. They're absolutely focused on politics. So there's more to it than at first meets the eye, and I really believe that a lot of this is public information, so I want to look into it more. So if you liked this content, please like and subscribe. I'd love to hear in the comments below what your thoughts are. How can we monetize social justice warriors more effectively? And is there an end in sight? Is something going to give? Let me know, and I will see you next time.